What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. And you can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out, and I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. Messed up and out of touch, let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Kind of humorous. I put out that video this morning and it's setting at 8 views. No likes or dislikes, or 8 views. No likes, no dislikes. Why do you suppose that is? I mean, I know why it is. I'm just curious why people suppose that is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I had watched because I thought, this might be a good video. I had watched Jay Dudley's video. He had put one out today, and he's going on and talking about how anybody to have any kind of real part in his life it's a prerequisite they have to watch the movie Fight Club. Somebody told me that I had to watch any movie in particular in order to be their friend. I would laugh in their face. This is what I'm talking about, folks. None of these people have any idea how to get the machines going. They haven't even thought about it. It's not even dawned on them that, wait a minute, we're going to have to get the machines going. And before any of them jump up and say, well, we've got this plan and this plan and this plan, well, I call bullshit, because if they had all those plans, they'd have been making video content on them. There is no operational security around having a fuel source that others could use in order to, create their own sustenance. It's mind-blowing. And that's why it's frustrating to me, because these people are considering and calling themselves preppers. But they don't even know how they're going to do the farming without the help of the refineries and everything that goes behind that. The trucking industry, the pipeline industry, the refinery industry. Of course, you've got the oil drilling, industry. That's a given. All these industries come together today in order to produce fuel so that we can do the farming that we need, so that we can eat the food that we have to have. What's their plan when that gets shut off? It's great, by the way, that they've got animals. It's great that they've got sheep, they've got cows, what are you going to feed them? How are you going to get that to feed them? You have to be able to plant that, harvest that, before you can feed them. How are you going to get the machines going? I'm telling you now, there's not a serious prepper out there that cannot answer that question. It's impossible. It's impossible. Folks, we really got to wake up out of the stream. We really got to wake up out of the stream. This Hollywood-inspired prepper movement. Because it's going to cost a lot of people their lives. These people don't have foresight. All they've got is links for you to buy a bunch of bullshit. They don't have foresight. They don't have the depth of perception to understand what is going to be required in order for them to survive. Required. Not a maybe. Not a maybe. It blows my mind that people actually talk about preparing for some major SHTF with no plan at all on how to get the machines going. Because without those machines, we are all done. All done. They need to quit with their prepper movie fantasy bullshit. They need to sit down at the table with people that actually know what the fuck they're talking about. But I don't see that happening. They're too busy trying to tickle ears and pander to man. That is what it is. Anywho, it is. It's a mind-blowing. You know, I don't know. I think if you have a golf channel, you should be about golf. If you have a baseball channel, you should be about baseball. If you have a prepping channel, shouldn't you be about prepping? And I know somebody out there is thinking, well, you're a news channel, dude, shut up. Correct. But from day one, we said that we were going to discuss news and how to prepare for it. It wasn't something that we started to do, meaning talking about preparedness, because we were looking for more video hits. Been talking about it all along. Been talking about pole shift from day one of the Watchman news. Any idea why it gets a little frustrating when these people want to push the people to the side that's actually done the work? That entertainment mentality might work for now. Not going to be much good when that green flag drops, so I'll tell you that. What's going to matter is what you're capable of. Period. Not what you're capable of bullshitting people to think. What you're capable of. Anywho. Other than that, it's just been a typical day. I will tell you this. It is instrumentally harder than you ever possibly thought. I'll show you. Oh, wrong one. way harder to create a metal flake paint job in Photoshop than you ever imagined. I sat there, and that is after hours and hours and hours. But I can tell you that that is my metal flake. It's not a copied metal flake. It's not. That is my metal flake. And as soon as I get the chance, you don't see any of the iridescent stuff on there because I don't have that layer on there. Somebody, not going to say any names, decided that they would get the bright idea to hide some lines that was in the other paint by breaking out the smudge tool. And somebody didn't think that they were going to screw up the metal flake paint on the aircraft when they did that. So I thought, since I already screwed up and I got to start from the get-go again, I'm going to create the metal flake myself. Just like the iridescent. The other iridescent wasn't, I didn't initially create that iridescent. That was, I did and I didn't, but it was from using somebody else's palette. But now that I understand a little bit more about doing this, I'm going to use my own palette based on the colors that the aircraft is. So it's going to turn out really, really, really cool. But anyway, that's the metal flake. And again, hours. But the good news is, now that I've got that, all I have to do is take that pattern, because I defined it as a pattern, and it's silver, so it's just silver. And I take that pattern, and then I just overlay it with color, and I can make whatever color I want metal flake. So The next plane that I'm working on is going to be black metal flake with flames on it. Going to be like the old, the old 50s something Chevy Cruiser with the old school yellow, orange, and red flames. It's just simple. Going to be an old school flame paint job, and I really think that's going to be. I think that's going to be a big hit. I think people are going to like it. But anyway, hey, it's just something I enjoy doing. We all, I guess, have our little hobbies, our little hang-ups, and I'm surprised that it took this long for the new sim to get an aircraft that I just would absolutely lose my shit over and have to paint to death just because I can. That's definitely a qualifier. Coffee. So, I'm sure you're all here. You're probably all wondering about these nuts, right? Well, these nuts will get you in a lot of trouble, I'll tell you that. Absolutely incredible what kind of trouble you can get to with these nuts. I mean, I'm looking at these nuts right now, and I can't believe it. And they're white. I mean, I know, you wouldn't have thought, right, that the white nuts would get the attention, but they did. They did. The white nuts got it. Russia introduces 12-year jail term for smuggling nuts. I told you, and they're white nuts. They're not big, though. We'll give it that. They're small, white nuts. And even though I think that's incredibly racist and appropriating, it is what it is. We can identify that they're great large white nuts, but they're probably still not going to be. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, and anybody like that, with a name like that that signs a law, you damn well better listen. He has signed a decree to include Korean pine nuts in the national list of strategically important goods and resources. Yes, it's a matter. These nuts are a matter of national security. Wow. The document was published on the Russian government's official website for legislation. The designation means that the smuggling of Korean pine nuts, either shelled or unshelled, will be considered a criminal offense and will be punishable by up to 12 years in prison. The initiative to add the foodstuff to the list of strategically valuable resources was initially proposed by Oleg Kuzmyako, governor of the far eastern Russian region of Primorsky Krai, which borders China and North Korea. He's just trying to please everybody's nuts, is what he's trying to do. In a document addressed to President Vladimir Putin, Kuzmyako argued that the role of pine nuts was not limited to being a valuable resource for the economy, but that these nuts also form an important food base for animals in the region. The governor noted that at the top of the local food chain sits the endangered Amur tiger species. Hey, we can't have the extinction of the tiger because he didn't have these nuts, now can we? According to Kuzmyako, the volume of pine nuts harvested in the region is consistently close to the limits of its cedar forest. He pointed out that due to gaps in the current legislation, the forests are subjected to virtually uncontrolled industrial harvesting. Just the uncontrolled harvesting of these nuts is just horrific. Additionally, those collecting the nuts often do so using predatory methods. Dinner at least, right? Without waiting for the cones to properly ripen, and often cause damage to the crowns and trunks of trees while harvesting. I am way too immature for this article, folks. Commenting on the inclusion of Korean pine nuts in the list of strategically important goods, Krasnodar's Minister of Forestry and Wildlife Protection, Konstantin Stepanov, emphasized that the new legislation is only aimed at regulating exports and does not prohibit regular citizens from collecting and harvesting, you got it, Deez nuts. However, the situation is set to change for businesses with the hopes that limiting exports and keeping the processing of all harvested nuts, pine nuts, within the country will significantly increase the added value of the final product, Stepanov said. Changing the rules of the game should help improve the condition of the cedar forest and reduce the volume of illegal nut harvesting using barbaric methods, the minister added. Well, I am certainly glad somebody is standing up finally and putting their foot down on these nuts. Man. Yeah. How do you follow that up? We're stretching them thin, aren't we? Holy cow. U.S. deploys 3,000 troops to the Middle East. The U.S. military has deployed thousands of troops and additional naval assets to the Middle East to deter Iranian forces after Washington accused Tehran of harassing commercial vessels and other destabilizing actions. The U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet announced the decision on Monday, noting that more than 3,000 Marines and sailors had arrived in the Red Sea aboard an amphibious assault ship and a dock landing vessel the day before. These units add significant operational flexibility and capability as we work alongside international partners to deter destabilizing activity and de-escalate regional tensions caused by Iran's harassment and seizures of merchant vessels earlier this year, Fifth Fleet spokesman Commander Tim Hawkins told The Hill in a statement. The amphibious assault ship sent in the latest deployment, the USS Baton, also carried additional air assets, the Navy added. Though it did not specify the systems on board, the military said that the ship can carry more than 24 rotary wing and fixed wing aircraft, including the Osprey tilt rotor aircraft and the AV-8B Harrier attack jets, in addition to a number of landing craft. The smaller USS Carter Hall, a docking ship, will act as a support vessel for operations involving landings or amphibious attacks. So, and then, I'm telling you, I think there is about to be a big one cut loose. And I think that the United States is trying to pre-position as many assets as it can. But again, getting spread kind of thin. I really don't think that this is all just by chance. I think this is completely intentional. It's obvious because it's almost every area possible that you could hit the military to weaken them. They've done it. Not just deploying them to Timbuktu. I'm talking about, I mean, that's normal. But all the new policies and all of that stuff, I'm sorry. But by incorporating the policies that they have in the military, not only are you, for one, inviting mentally ill, weak people into the military, which is, a really dumb idea, but you're demoralizing all the other people that aren't that way. And so then they want out. So yeah, if you want to destroy your military, go woke with it. That'd do it in a hurry. Those are the last damn people that you want woke. Those are the first damn people that you want making fun of the woke. And I don't mean that to be mean, but that's the truth. War is an ugly, ugly thing. And I have never had to see it, thank God. We have a lot of men and women that live hell on a daily basis, nightmares, recurring visions, recurring sounds. The results of post-traumatic stress disorder from taking part in combat. It's not fun, it's not a game, and it's not a joke. Those men and women had to do very ugly things in very ugly situations. And they have to live with it for the rest of their life. If you put somebody that's already weak by definition in that spot, number one, the job won't get done in the first place. And number two, not only have you created a risk around the fruitcake, but that fruitcake just caused risk among everybody else on that team. You can't do that. That's why I'm against putting females on the line. I'm against it. Now, fighter jet, you want to be a fighter pilot, something like that, that's fine. But on the line, no. And the reason why is the simple fact that for any red-blooded American male, he is going to take more concern with that female on that line than he is his brothers. And it's instinct. Something that you can't get past. It is instinct for a true man. And that causes a problem. That's a distraction. That causes a danger. It's no different putting out somebody on the line that for any reason is going to get a difference in attention. You're causing a weakness. Just because I've never served doesn't mean I don't know anything about strategy. Doesn't mean I don't know anything about war. It just doesn't mean I was employed by the U.S. government to do it. That's all it means. They are trying to destroy this nation. There's no two ways about it. If we don't wind up in a major conflict within the next 3 months, I'll be completely shocked. Poland deploys more troops to border with Russia's ally. Polish military has moved to reinforce the country's border with Belarus as tensions continue to rise along the frontier. Warsaw has blamed the situation on surging migration and the presence of operatives working for Russian defense contractor Wagner Group. Now you see how they are still saying Russian defense contractor. According to a statement quoted by local and I'm saying I'm talking about Poland is referring to them as a Russian defense contractor. Officially, they're not supposed to be. According to a statement quoted by the local media on Tuesday, the Polish Defense Ministry signed off on a request by Thomas Praga, the head of the country's border forces, to redeploy another 1,000 soldiers to the Polish-Belarusian frontier, citing the dynamic situation there. At present, there are about 2,000 soldiers stationed in the area. The request for reinforcements came after Polish Deputy Interior Minister Maciej Łasek claimed that the migration pressure on the Polish border with Belarus was growing, alleging that the development would be impossible without the complicity of Belarusian border guards. According to Praga, some 19,000 people have attempted to illegally cross the border this year, compared to 16,000 in 2022. The migration crisis in the region first arose in 2021 when Belarus emerged as a major transit point for Middle Eastern refugees trying to reach the EU. However, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko denied accusations that Minsk was helping to increase the flow of refugees into Poland. In recent weeks, Polish authorities also flagged concerns about alleged attempts by Wagner Group operatives who moved to Belarus as part of a deal ending a short-lived mutiny in Russia to infiltrate the country. Warsaw also suggested it could end up closing the border to stave off the purported incursions. So, you know. Howdy, Ryan. And I have a feeling that, I'm telling you, I think Putin's about ready to step down on Ukraine. We'll see. We'll see. 3 dead, 11 wounded in Donetsk shelling, says authorities. Says Ukrainian artillery and rocket attacks on the Donetsk People's Republic on Tuesday claimed the lives of 3 civilians and injured 11 more. Among them a child, said the acting head of the Russian region, Denis Pushilin. Throughout the day, Donetsk was under intense fire by the Ukrainian armed forces, Pushilin said on his official Telegram channel. He said 3 people were killed and 11 wounded in the 3 districts of the city of Donetsk and the nearby town of Shakhtorsk, including a child born in 2012 and a team of electrical workers trying to repair a power line. All the wounded are being treated by doctors, Pushilin added. The shelling also damaged 10 public buildings, including a school in Donetsk, a kindergarten in Makivka, and a factory in Shakhtorsk, and 24 residences in Donetsk and Yaskinvatia. In total, the Joint Center for Control and Coordination in Donetsk registered 95 volleys with a total of 349 rounds. Among them were cluster munitions supplied to Kiev's forces by the U.S. last month. So, I don't know how we're not already in some huge conflict. I don't know. I thought this was crazy. American holiday proposed in Ukraine. a member of President Vladimir Zelensky's party has introduced a bill that would establish Thanksgiving as a public holiday in Ukraine, in line with highly developed countries he did not name. Bill 9574, introduced in the Verkhovna Rada on Monday, would designate October 22nd as a national holiday in order to raise gratitude to a national level as it is done in some highly developed countries, when each person will have an official opportunity to give thanks to all those whom he wishes to do so. Now wait a minute here. They need to designate a day for that? Wait a minute. I mean, it's their country. They can have whatever holidays they wish. But I think you would be better served to learn to treat people better on the daily. Because the way that Zelensky acts towards all these nations that are funneling money and arms his way, that is not good leadership. I need some coffee. Man. Might actually have to do a little bit of flying in the morning, because I haven't been flying so much because I've been painting the aircraft. I'm in Florida, though, in my trip around the country. So, I'm in Florida. Got to make my way down the west side of Florida, then back up the east side of Florida, and all the way up to Maine. And then I'll cut across and fly the Continental Divide on the way back to Friday Harbor. But I couldn't do it without having to repair the plane. I've had to repair the plane. Little stuff here and there, nothing major. I did have a prop break on me, but my understanding is there's a bug in the aircraft that caused that. It shouldn't have broke, apparently. Other than that, I did have to replace a flap. I blew out a flap. Actually, that's it. Other than the prop and the crank, because when the prop goes, the crank goes. So flap's the only thing, aside from that prop, that I've had to replace. I'm still not sure how I blew it out. But I've gotten that thing perfected now, when it comes to landing. So, Bank of England issues UK food price warning. This, by the way, is not good. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's one of my favorite things ever. Flying. Surging inflation, which had been crippling the British economy, may slow, but food will remain more expensive than before the cost of living crisis, the Bank of England's chief economist, Hugh Pill, has warned. Official figures show that food inflation in the world's 10th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity remained stubbornly high at 17.3% in the 12 months to June. Unfortunately, the days of seeing food prices fall, that does seem to be something that we may not be seeing for a little while yet, if in the future at all, Pill was quoted as saying by Sky News on Monday. According to the leading economist, the impact on food prices in the UK has been a little bit more long-standing than would have been expected, Pill cited uncertainty over the supply chain for staples such as wheat and sunflower oil as a result of the Ukraine conflict and Western sanctions on Russia, which has increased the cost of raw materials and basic food. British companies have responded by locking themselves into expensive contracts, Pill argued, adding that price rises will begin to slow as those contracts come to an end and food sub-processors in the UK adjust to the end of supply disruption. Consumer price growth in Britain has remained persistently high despite government efforts to tame inflation, with officials and trade unions accusing supermarkets of greedflation and profiteering at the expense of consumers. Pill previously stated that British households and the businesses need to accept that they are now poorer and should stop asking for wage increases and pushing prices higher. Some firms decided to sort a lock in their purchases of commodities in international markets in order to reduce that uncertainty, but potentially locked in at quite high levels of prices, and they're still passing that through the system and what ultimately we're paying for in shops, he explained. And that absolutely happens, especially if a company has some liquidity and they experience trouble in a certain market. They will absolutely lock in that market. And sometimes you take a risk when doing that. And that's essentially what that's talking about. Oh, man. And this is the last article that I have up. Mind-blowing. I've only got one question. You see the headline, Gen Z will be the last U.S. majority white generation, says a study. So I've got a question. Do we get to stop talking about race then? Because if it's not a white majority, there shouldn't be a race issue, now should there? Still think Morgan Freeman was right when he said all we got to do is stop talking about it. It's crazy. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all those people went through all of that to get rid of segregation, to get rid of that. For the very same people that are today demanding it back. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. I don't think it's supposed to, though. Alright. Let's read some headlines and run out the door screaming. Trump pushes back on proposed gag order. U.S. lying about Russia's position on Ukraine peace talks, says Moscow. Russia and Qatar work on switching to trade in national currencies, says envoy. Let's see. U.S. targets Indian jewelers over Russian diamond allegations. Aramco boss forecasts strong China oil demand. Moscow will achieve peace in Ukraine on its own terms, says Medvedev. Wagner boss expresses joy over Victoria Nuland. Russian soldiers not human, says a Kiev military spokesperson. Covered that. Russia cancels tax agreements with 38 Western countries. Kiev strikes residential districts of Donetsk, says authorities. Ukrainian counteroffensive highly unlikely to succeed, U.S. officials tell CNN. EU state shock windfall tax sends bank shares plummeting. I even tweeted that out. Didn't get any views from that. July hottest month ever, experts say. By the way, I don't expect those videos to get very many views. I get it. But I gotta blow my horn because that's what I was commanded to do. Authorities cannot be unaware of organ trafficking, says Hague lawyer on allegations against Kiev. Oh, missed this one. July, hottest month ever, experts say. Hottest month ever? Poland deploys more troops to Belarusian border. Putin talks BRICS summit with South Africa's Ramaphosa. Actually, I read that one that I covered. And that one too almost. Russia to build African village. No more U.S. if Trump regains presidency, says Pelosi. I feel more confident the U.S. would exist if Trump was president, even though he doesn't flip my trigger. But I'm pretty sure if the left is left in control, yeah, there won't be U.S. I don't think there's going to be a U.S. either way, to be honest. Indian photographer wins Andre Stenen photo contest. I don't know how that word or how that name's said. Let's see. Biden pulling accounting scam to fund Ukraine, says Republican representative. Ex-Austrian FM moves to small Russian village. Bear escape causes delay at Dubai airport. We need everybody to evacuate Concourse C, please. We need everybody to evacuate Concourse C. If you see a big brown bear, just lie down and play dead. See how well that works. Let's see. And that's it. Brown bears. Brown bears, I think you're actually supposed to get aggressive with, if I'm not mistaken. So, black bears, however, I do believe you want to lay down and play dead. But a brown bear, you want to get noisy and scare it away. Try to scare it away. You're much more likely to scare away a brown bear than you are a black bear. So, has nothing to do with the color either, so stop. I mean, I suppose that a brown bear could identify as a black bear. I suppose that a black bear could be kind and soft like a brown bear. I suppose. You might want to ask them what pronouns they prefer right before they claw you to death, though, because that matters. I'm getting the hell out of here. I will, God willing, talk with you all tomorrow. And with that, as always, God bless you, and we love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.